Hello, I'm kyliemowray-allen, and welcome to the Positive, Passionate Businesswoman Networking Group for women all over the world who want to connect, collaborate, and grow their businesses so they can give more. Our Hello You podcast is all about getting to know our huddle members and other amazing women doing incredible things in business. And if you'd like to explore joining us, you can find the links in the description. We know that it's more powerful to collaborate than it is to compete with each other. And when women work together, amazing things can happen. Enjoy our latest episode. And hi, and welcome to Positive, Passionate Businesswoman. This is the Hello You live video podcast, and it's all about getting to know who is in the huddle as a series. So today we're chatting with Melissa Wilkes. She's the owner and CEO at Improve Yourself. So great to have you with us, Melissa. Thanks so much for being here. And how are you doing today?
I'm going awesome. Thank you for having me.
Great. And you're over in WA in Perth.
Yes. So a bit of a time difference, but yeah, over in I would say sunny Perth, but we actually had rain this morning, which is so weird because it's usually hot by now.
And have you always been in Perth? Is that where you were born and bred?
Yes. I grew up here and I have traveled to Sydney and Queensland, but yeah, that's it really. I've done the rest of it sort of overseas. So yeah, I can't move because I have kids here that just wouldn't allow it.
It's a magical spot though. I used to have an e-commerce business and I used to travel around the country doing expos and trade shows. And I went to Perth twice for the Kids, Baby and Children Expo. Oh, wow. And I loved it. I stayed with friends in Fremantle and it was just such a beautiful experience. I'd definitely love to go back and explore a little further afield.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you do because
it'd be cool to catch up in person. So let's chat a little bit about Improve Yourself. So as I said just before we went live, I've been doing a little bit of stalkeriness on Facebook for quite some time and watching your Facebook page, which I have to say is fabulous. I think what you put out is really very thought-provoking. Like there was something that I saw, I think it was yesterday maybe, or maybe even this morning. I'm actually going to bring it up because here you go. This is one thing that you put up, 5 things to reflect on after eating. And the first thing I read was, what is my hunger and fullness level now? And I went, oh, because I'd had a beautiful, super healthy lunch. Maybe half an hour had passed and I suddenly had that little moment of, I think I really need a little chocky or some sort of little sweet treat. Then I saw your post and I was like, actually my hunger and fullness level is perfectly satisfied. I don't need that little bit of chocky, do I? So what I think is awesome is that your photos are incredibly delicious. So they're very, very inspiring. So that's really attractive to look at. Plus you've got these great little ideas that you just put out there, which really speak to me. So I'd love to hear all about how that came about for you and what's behind what you do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I love it when people say they stalk me. I think that I think we start off with our journey with a certain, I guess, idea of how everything's going to look. And then as we go and get into the nuts and bolts of it, it's sort of, it changes a little bit. But for us as a family, my youngest son was dealing with lots of health issues and we'd been seeing different specialists for years, spending thousands of dollars. And it was actually a chiropractor who had started seeing said, why don't you look at changing some of his food? And we changed some of his food and some massive health issues, like including him having operations and stuff like that. We're all booked in and we put everything on hold and started trying different foods and taking certain foods out. And I'm kind of that kind of person that'll I'm all or nothing. Like I go all in. So hubby comes home and, there's big garbage bags and the whole fridge and pantry's empty. And I was like, I'm throwing everything out and we're changing everything. And he was like, no, don't. And so, our whole family, we changed our food, even though it was mainly for my youngest son. But we all had massive changes. I'd been dealing with so many gut health issues, digestive issues, chronic fatigue, you name it, I had dealt with it. And I was quite a big sugar binger as well previous to that. And the differences we all saw, and I know for women, we really do focus on weight loss. But what I did through my journey with myself and my family, and now do with clients, is weight loss is like this awesome side effect of changing. We get really caught up in how we look and how we weigh and all that sort of stuff. And we don't think about, how's our mind working? Are we excited about life? Have we got energy? Do we feel good about ourselves? And that's where my journey has sort of changed a bit. So I've always taught about nutrition and health and lifestyle, but a lot more is about mindset now. And I love it because that's where we've had some huge changes in clients over the last few years. Doing this a long time, but to really see that bringing nutrition and mindset together, it makes a huge difference. And we are just busy, emotional women. We're always doing stuff. We always find too much put on a plate, always running around after everybody else, feeling a bit burnt out and not really knowing what to do to look after ourselves. So that's been a lot of how I teach and coach women. And the other part of it really is the emotion side. There is a lot of emotions that we have. There's stuff from the past and experiences and that, and it's all locked inside. And sometimes those cravings, or I feel like I need to have something here, can literally be based on something else that's going on in the body. So I teach that to clients and I love it. I get really excited about it, and I'm sure you'll resonate. What happens is when you love what you do, you actually work too much. So
yes.
Everything I teach, I have to do for myself as well. It's like, Melissa, slow down, take it down a notch.
Fabulous. So I love that it came about from personal reasons. So for your child, obviously, but then also for you. And I think that's really special. And I love that the whole family came on board with that, because that makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Particularly for the one that's having to make the big changes. I had a whole lot of that going when I was a kid, but hello, a million years ago when I was dealing with all of that, the only alternatives to things were, like, for example, sugar-free carob. There was no nut milks. There was, it was very, very, very limited. And it was grim. And so my family would try and join me, but it was certainly tough. And I've often thought how much easier it would be to be dealing with a child through that sort of a thing now, and elimination diets and all that, because now you can actually substitute for so many different things. And plus, how easy is it to make your own nut milks, for example, and turn it into something fun that you do together? So that's really cool. So then how did you go from doing this for your own family and then making a career out of it?
Yeah, so what was happening was we were having such huge changes in our whole family that what people would start coming to me and sort of saying, what are you doing? And how's this work? And they'll just get so many questions. And then I was also getting a lot of confessionals. Like, women would say, oh, guess what I ate on the weekend? I know I shouldn't have, Melissa. And I would be like, it's okay. It's your choice. We're big oversharers. And I think for me, I was giving out information and I was helping people, and I thought, you know what, I need to get qualified in this. I need to know more. So started out really studying nutrition, but what I soon realized is there's just so much more to learn. So I learned about gut health, the psychology of eating, and then just really how our mindset works, and just brought in heaps of other modalities to support what I'm doing. And that's really how it happened. And it's been a wild ride, as does when you have your own business. And I think for me, like I run women's retreats, I run cleanses, I run cooking clubs. I love the variety. I love being able to do something different and meet different women. And there's a lot of people out there in pain or hurt or really struggling, and to take them on that journey and see the changes is like super rewarding for me. And I'm excited that I'm at a place in my business where I've been very selective the last few years of the women I work with, and they're really ready for change. They're not just saying that they want to change, they actually do. And I think we need to ditch all the stuff that's been programmed in, the diets and the quick fixes and, you know, just whack this together. Really, let's just coming back to those basics of how we should be still living, and that's making our food from scratch and knowing what actually nourishes us and knowing what suits our personal body system, because what suits your body will be different than mine. So if I preach to you what I eat, that isn't going to necessarily help you. So yeah, it is a bit of a journey as well, working with people. It's like they come to me with like lots of different pieces of the puzzle, and we got to together put it together and work through that. And I love that women can get to the end of the program and go, okay, this is what my body's trying to tell me, or this is what I need to do because I had a big night the night before, or this is what my body's really needing right now, and just connecting with those things, because we are so busy and we are so emotional that we don't sort of connect with a lot of the things that our body's trying to communicate with us, or we don't really know how to fulfill our needs. So I think that's really empowering too.
I totally agree with you. And listening to your body is so important. I'm very fortunate where I live that there is virtually no takeaways, and there's certainly no Uber Eats, there's no like McDonald's or anything like that. So if I've had one wine too many, back in the day, I've lived here for 23 years now. Prior to that, I'm pretty sure I would have been craving something. In fact, I remember when I lived in Sydney and heading off to work after we had a big work night or something, and I'm like, I just feel so rotten, I've got to have junk, which of course has got to be the worst thing that you could be fueling your body with after too much alcohol, for example. So that's one bonus here, of living here, that we don't even have that as an option. The second bonus, I think, is that for many parts of Australia, I'm sure for you as well over in WA, is that it is actually really possible to eat seasonally. Like we have farmers markets, we have even our local, like I'm in a really small village, but Byron Bay is my closest town, and that's about 10 minutes away. And they've got, you know, a fairly big supermarket. But even in my little town, we've got a small couple of little small grocery kind of shops. And it's a lot of that is just locally grown that they're selling. And most of our friends grow something, so you can always do swaps and things. So I feel like when you have your hands in the soil, or you're touching the stuff, it totally changes it to when you're buying it. Or I looked at a post the other day about cucumbers, and there was, you know, the long cucumber in the plastic. And I thought, how interesting if that's only ever been your experience, is meat in, you know, in plastic, and vegetables in plastic, and to really not understand the beauty of fresh. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And like you said, it's, what if you've never experienced any other way? And so you're and the more it's commercialized, the more it's convenient, the more people are going to that. And it's funny how we've got to have a paper bag to go through the supermarket, yet all fruit and veg is sitting in plastic. And it's like, this makes no sense. You know, it really is crazy times.
Isn't it just?
Yeah. And you know what? I have challenged people in that say it's too expensive to eat healthy. I think it takes a while to learn if you haven't learned how to cook from scratch. And we're big foodies. We love our food. Like, we love gourmet cooking and stuff. But I don't have the patience my husband has. He'll be in there all day. Me, I got to go in, got to get out. Like, there's things to do. So I teach people how to make foods really quickly, like make a meal in 15 minutes, but it's got to be gourmet. It's got to have lots of flavor and color and excitement. And even salads, like if it's a salad, it shouldn't just be a boring traditional salad. There's just so much you can do there and get really excited, like, oh, it's a salad, not, oh, it's a salad.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Making it fun is so important. We're massive foodies in my family too, but we're also Thermomixers. And my daughter's 19 now, but we got our first Thermomix when she was 9. And that's what really brought on her love of cooking. And we stopped buying anything in a jar or in a packet, because we can make it from scratch so easily. And we grow so many of our own veggies that then go, you know, we're making our own stocks. And even right now, she's making her own pickled onions and things. Yeah. And she's massively into it. So I'm similar to you. I'd like to just get it done because I don't want to say time poor because that sounds like it's done to me, whereas I'm actually making that life happen, aren't I? But I certainly am not investing my time in spending a lot of time cooking at the moment, but my daughter absolutely loves it. So bonus for me, and she cooks extraordinary things, which is really lucky. But I grew up in Auckland and it was very much about packaged. You know, I didn't go to farms and things like that very often. So you're not really getting really real with where things come from and all that kind of stuff. And I remember having a conversation with someone when I'd moved up here, and back then I was a vegan, and I said to someone about eggs, and you know, they had even said on the packet caged hens or something, and I was like, oh, it just makes me want to cry. Like it's even just says it on it, like it's not even trying to pretend that it's not, and they just could not fathom why that would be horrifying me. I'm definitely not a vegan anymore, and but I'm very, very conscious of where things are coming from and how they're raised. We have a pig farm up the road, you know, and they just have the best life, those pigs. We drive that road each time we're on our way to Byron, and they're having a great life. We've got the chickens up the road that way, and you know, it feels so good to know where it's all coming from.
Yeah, you're so lucky. We've talked about moving, but my kids won't move. But I mean, you know, that hands-on cooking and Thermomix, like we actually got our Thermomix about 10, 12 years ago.
Wow.
And we would have been really cooking from scratch there as well. And hubby likes doing the things like the pickled onions and that. And I think it can be therapeutic for people to really get into that and do that in their spare time, which is awesome. But doing that more hands-on with your kids teaches them how to cook, and then they can learn about vegetables and fruits and meats and all that sort of stuff and where it comes from, and they're having that huge learning experience too. And then we also know that we're building up their immune system and their guts, and setting them up for a healthier life. And I think for women that are mums, it's so powerful. It's not just for us, it's for our family and our generations to come. So getting back to that traditional way of food, I think we, like you kind of touched on, we forget that food is like, it's we're doing it all day, every day. We've got to eat right. And we think we don't have time, or we come up with those ideals of not having time, but time, it's more about the priority, like really your health a priority. You know, people say I don't have the energy, but if you ate healthy, you have the energy. I have too much energy. You know, if you in that, with that energy comes freer time. So it just depends what your priorities are, and if you want to put yourself and your health and your vitality and how long you're in this world as a priority, then you'll find the time to learn these things and, you know, bring them into your life and make them
a few years ago, I was in Sydney at Tony Robbins' UPW, and it was my first experience of anything like that. It's maybe 4 years ago, I'm not sure. Anyway, he said something about how he just hated people whinging about I don't have enough time or whatever. It totally resonated with what he said, because I was that to a T. And what he said is we all have the same 24 hours.
Yes.
It's just how you choose to divide it up. And I was like, clever you. Yeah. And many people had said that over the years to me, I guess, in different ways, but that one really resonated to me. It's not that I'm time poor. It's not that I don't have enough time. I'm just choosing to use it in the way that I'm using it, which I think is super interesting. And you're so right. You have to eat. Everybody has to eat, but it's how we choose what we're going to do with that. And one of my, I've got a few more questions I've got to move on to, but I've got to tell you this little cute story, that when my daughter was born, we were living on an organic mango farm. And it was a church that had been converted to a home by this architect. And we were renting it. It was the most glorious space I've ever lived in my life. It was absolutely exquisite. And so when she was little, it wasn't just mangoes, but that was a huge part of the farm. And when she was really little and just first eating, we would just go and sit under a mango tree and I'll just sit there and peel them and give her the whole thing. And she would just be, you know, and then even when she was a little rocker, and I would go and sit in the veggie patch and pick some tomatoes for making a tomato paste or whatever, and she would just be munching on those, and it was so beautiful to watch. But we had these friends whose kids were a little bit older, and I'd said to them when they arrived, oh, I just made these beautiful ice blocks yesterday, you're going to love them, they're so gorgeous, blah blah blah. And I used to make things cool shapes and stuff. Anyway, so I brought the ice blocks out and the kids were pumped, like, yeah. And I was like, oh, these are Clover's favorite things that I make. I'm so sorry, I should have shut that blind. Anyway, and so I brought them out and they're like this cool purpley red color. And they were like, oh, that's an odd, that doesn't look like raspberry really, or black currant or whatever. And I'm like, no, they're beetroot. I juiced the beetroot and then I put the, I can't even remember how to pronounce it, but is it agar, or, you know, the seaweed gelatin kind of a thing.
Oh, yes.
So, so they were like jellyish beetroot ice blocks, and the kids were just horrified. And then my daughter just loving every second as it's dripping down her, and I was like, how could you not love those? So she got a really great start in life. With beautiful, beautiful food. But I tell her every now and then about the beetroot ice blocks, and she's like, I'm really glad you moved on from that. Something that she would really want very much now.
I think kids don't know how to eat that way at all, do they? You know,
yeah.
My youngest has been judged at school a lot over the years for his food choices, and now he's getting into the later high school. It's a little bit more challenging for him, but he's been very resilient and stood strong and confident for a long time. But yeah, he's in the later high school. Good on him. So yeah.
Good on him. We think that we had, we had a bit of a thing at my daughter's school where they was like put in a zone, so you couldn't eat a red zone food. Sorry, you couldn't bring it to school. So in her early days, we could bring in a birthday cake to share with the class. By the later years, she wasn't allowed to do that at all. You could not take a birthday cake to school. And I thought that was a bit of a shame, might have gone a little step too far. But I thought it was just so wonderful to be like, they didn't want them having packaged foods. So it became quite a cool thing that, you know, I'm still opening a packet of crackers and putting them in. So it's not like there was no packaging, but they didn't want the packaging at school, which I thought was a really cool thing. And
yeah, absolutely.
Certainly
did that.
Yeah. Opening kids' eyes up. So what would you tell other women who are just starting out in business? What would you like them to know?
Just starting out in business, I think it's really about being organized, being confident, but still, looking after your health. Like, where's your time spent? Where's your energy spent? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? So I think we can just sit at the desk and just get really carried away and bam, bam, bam out all this work. And then we forget that I've actually showed up better in my business in the last 6 months than I have in nearly 10 years. And I'm working less. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the secret.
So what's your top tip for that, for pulling back yet doing better than before or better than ever?
Okay. So I think for me personally, it has been about really prioritizing. Like you, I do have an assistant. You've got a few assistants, and I think that they are really helpful. But it's really like figuring out, what is it that I need in my business? What can I get rid of? When you're starting out, I guess you've got to try it out before you know what's going to work. But yeah, it's like, what is my time valued at? Like, what's its worth? And do I want to be spending it doing this? And as you get busier, more clients are filling in your appointment calendar, so you really have to be more organized. And it's like, normally would sit there and go, oh, what else can I do here? What else can I do here? Instead going, you know what, I'm actually going to walk away from my computer and I'm going to have a break, and I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go make that amazing salad. And just choosing that time. It's spending it different, dropping my son off at school, going for a walk along the beach, that stuff, because that fills your cup and makes you feel energized and excited. So when you show up in your business, your head's clearer, you have that more energy. And I remember just hustling for so many years. I've just hustled, and your brain doesn't work as well, and you can fill your time. But like I'm really big with, like, I'll wait till the last minute and I'll pump something out. It'll be great. It won't probably be 100%, but it'll be great. And I'm like, why am I always putting myself under this pressure? Oh, because I've worked really well under that. Okay, well, why don't I find a 5-hour job? How can I do that in 2 hours? Or something that will take me an hour. How can I do it in 15 minutes? And I've just started, I guess, making those changes, and just to know that everything's happening for you. Everything in our lives are happening for us. So there is no big challenges. It's all experiences and learning, and you can make it as easy or as hard as you like.
Yes, you well can. Absolutely. So what is your top tip that you can share about being a woman in business?
Oh, top tip about being a woman in business: stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. I think a lot of women, and I've got lots of coaching friends, and we can get caught up in what other people are doing. And my biggest success over the last few years has been worrying about myself and looking at what I'm doing, and not comparing, not going, ooh, and looking at the shiny objects or running over here or there. It's just literally worrying about what I'm doing. What am I providing everybody? Because when we're looking at everybody else and what everyone else is doing, we're forgetting actually why we're here, and we're here to serve and be of service. And I love that, being of service to others and worrying more about my clients than what everyone else is doing is a lot more rewarding, fulfilling. And I just think you thrive. You and your business thrive together.
Beautifully said, Melissa. That is magic, absolutely magic. And it's given me a lot of things to think about. I think that so much of what you said, but I really love that bit about being of service and not looking at the others, just staying in your lane. And I think for us as women, it's so easy for us to feel less than, seeing everybody else what's doing. I've got a whole lot of people on my Instagram feed at the moment that I'm following who are just keeping it real with photos. So here's me in my posed in my bikini, and here's me just letting my gut hang out, bad angle in my same bikini, same moment, same everything, and I'm just like, wow, good on you girls for just putting it out there like that and keeping it real.
Yeah, we've got such a big contrast happening. We've got the Kim Kardashian world, that there's so much of that, and then we have a lot more people coming through with, like, let's be real. And it's exciting times, because
really is
everybody. We don't need to be missing out on food. We don't need to be worrying about what other people think. So it's exciting times that people are starting to see that, and it gets me excited. The only other thing I really feel really strongly I have to add is that we've got to make sure we're drinking enough water. Like, it's key. And so many women, especially women that are a bit of workaholics, don't drink enough water. So the key is really, if you want your brain to work, you want to have energy, you want to find time in your life, to drink water. It's like literally it's life. Exactly. Don't go anywhere without it. It should be your bestie. Drink water.
Well, this one lives on my desk. It's a glass one, but it does 5 of these a day. And then I have water bottles for inside as well. And I'm absolutely with you. And someone said to me years ago that anything that you drink, if it's not water, then it's not water. It's classed as food. And I don't know if that's strictly true, but it's stuck with me always.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I really like that. So how do you, I know that we're meant to be wrapping it up, but I've actually got a million questions. I'm only going to ask one more. I'd love to know what you think about coffee, because for me, I hate coffee. Like, I hate it I hate the smell. I just hate everything about coffee.
Yeah.
And my daughter, probably in her last year of school, so she's in her first year, just finished her first year of uni today, actually, of her first year. But last year in particular, I noticed her starting to have some coffees, and I was like, that's really interesting. So when they'd get to school, I guess it was the kids that were doing hospitality or something, they kind of opened up their little thing to make coffees and all of that anyway. So clearly it was just a thing. And I was like, no, so bummed you've got into coffee. I really loved that you weren't into that. Anyway, she can do what she wants. But anyway, the other day we were talking about coffee again, and she said, I haven't had a coffee in about 8 months. And I said, how come? And she said, because it didn't make me feel good in my heart. I just always felt a bit too racy and weird. And I thought, I wonder if people just get used to that feeling, and you just, like, I've literally had one coffee in my life and I hated it. So I didn't actually feel anything from it. I literally just was so grossed out by it. So is that a problem, do you think? Because then you speak to some people about coffee and they're like, it's the best thing for you.
I think it really depends on your adrenals, your body. Everyone is totally different how it shows up in the body. And I think what your daughter's done is she's connected with how it feels inside. And she's gone, you know what, this doesn't feel right, and pulled it away from it. And we just don't do that enough. It's really like, how does this feel? How's it showing up? If you're racing, then you know that it's too much for your body. Most people wake up after sleeping all night, they're dehydrated, and the first thing they do is drink coffee instead of drinking water. So which is a dehydrator as well. And so you've gone all night, you've not drank any water while you're asleep, and then you're drinking coffee. So I love coffee. I think coffee is awesome. I go off coffee when I do run cleanses. Whenever I run cleanses, I jump on the cleanses too. But I don't have more than one coffee a day. I make it myself. I know where my coffee beans come from. And I'm very particular how it's made. I do a bit more of a bulletproof coffee. And what I teach clients is, let's just see how it's showing up in your body, exactly how your daughter did. She's tried it. If it works, if that's something that you want to do, but if it's not working for you and your body's showing those kind of signs, and then you stop it. You don't push through stuff. If your heart's racing, it's too much for the body. And you can really change your adrenals and affect them for the rest of your life, which is going to affect your mood, your stress, all that sort of stuff, if you push through things that is not actually made for your body. So what she's done is great.
So good. My husband's the opposite. He loves coffee. And I just love the idea of it, because it's so social. Like, people just say, let's meet for a coffee. I'll be like, oh, just what about a tea or something? But I love that he goes and meets his mates and they have a coffee together. I think that's a really cool thing, that it's not always just a beer or whatever, but I'd rather meet and have a juice perhaps. Or
it definitely is a social thing. It is like, have a glass of wine, let's go have a coffee. It's a very social thing. And I think that it's figuring out, does it suit your body? Does it make you feel good? Or how does it make you feel? And then deciding. But the quality makes a big difference too. And I think one good thing that's come out of this whole coffee, the last 5 years craze that's happening, is that people are being a bit more particular about the quality of the coffee and where it comes from, how it's been stored, what it's been contaminated with, and that can make a difference too. So we've got some real coffee snobs happening. I don't know about you guys, but we're paying $6 to $7 for a coffee if it's got a nut milk in it. It's crazy much for a little cup. I
have no idea what we pay for coffee here, but we're in such a coffee growing area that we've got at least 3 friends that have different coffee companies and stuff. So there's always coffee being delivered to my husband, and I'm like, don't put it in the tea drawer. It smells.
I'd be happy with just the smell of it.
We're all so different, are we? I feel like the common thread of today is very much about how it's making your body feel. And that is not just about what you do and what you teach, but also how business feels for you. Absolutely. And taking those breaks and making that beautiful, colorful salad at lunch, and taking time out. And I love that your whole business came from that experience with how it felt with your son and your past and all of that. So that's a beautiful thread that's woven through your sharing today. So thank you so much. It's been such a treat to chat with you. And I look forward to catching up with you in an online meetup and hanging out with all the other positive, passionate businesswomen. So thank you, Melissa, for joining me. It was just such a pleasure to chat with you. And for all of you listening, all of the details of how to contact Melissa will be in the caption, so you can follow her on her Instagram and enjoy it as much as what I do, especially those really beautiful inspirational photos of her food.
Thank you.
So, thanks so much, Melissa. It was just great, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Been great. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.